the power corridors of Jerusalem, the mood is as grave as it is resolute. The Israeli security cabinets go ahead to a renewed and expansionist military push into Gaza marks a watershed moment, not just in this endless conflict, but potentially for the fate of Hamas itself. This is not mere a routine escalation. With explicit approval for the full occupation of Gaza Strip, Israel has in effect signed what many now see as Hamas's death warrant. For nearly 2 years, Israel's approach combined relentless military pressure with repeated, often desperate attempts to bring Hamas to the negotiation table. Ever since the searing trauma of October 7, 2023, when Hamas terrorists breached Israeli borders in an unprecedented attack, the cycles of retaliation and negotiations have followed an increasingly bitter script. Hostage crisis, rocket reprisal, international mediation, each chapter unfolding with mounting agony for civilians on both sides. Yet time and again attempts to broker sustainable deals to exchange hostages or to negotiate ceasefires have collapsed in acrimony, bad faith or renewed violence. Even as the carnage mounted and humanitarian agencies pleaded for respite, Israel offered corridor plans, prisoner exchange and even short-lived ceasefires. Every time, however, talks flattered against two unyielding forces, with Hamas calculating that Israeli and international political pressure would eventually force a retreat, and Israel insisting that any resolution must ensure Hamas's total demilitarization and return of its hostages. And when the latest offensive failed to yield either, Israel resolved, enough is enough. Entered Operation Gideon's Chariot, named after the biblical hero who defeated his enemies against impossible odds. In fact, this operation, launched in May 2025, was conceived as the decisive campaign to dismantle Hamas, both militarily and politically, to secure the release of hostages, to destroy the organization's command structure, and to assert Israeli control over strategic territories deep inside the Gaza Strip. In previous offensives, Israeli forces sought swift, targeted blows, disrupting tunnels, liquidating field commanders and pressing for deals. But each time, Hamas proved Hydra-headed, never fully destroyed, always reconstituting in the ruins. Now, what sets this latest new push apart is the scale and purpose. A sustainable ground maneuver aimed not simply at discarding, but to eradicate Hamas as a governing entity and military force. The Security Cabinet's approval after intense and divided debate means the IDF is now authorized to seize and hold last Hamas's stronghold, Gaza City, above all alongside the strategic corridors that have eluded previous operations. The objective is nothing less than the full demilitarization of Hamas, the recovery of all hostages, demilitarization and establishment of post-Hamas governance model. In fact, this all is in the Cabinet's security words. This won't be a punitive raid. It will be an occupation with all strategic consequences and bitter debate that world entails. This decision, for all its determination, is also a tacit admission that every other lever has been tried and found wanting. From Operation Cast led in 2008 to the shocks of 2023, which culminated in months of renewed offensive, the IDF has spent incalculable resources and lost many of its own soldiers in search for military solution. Yet Hamas has endured. It rebuilt its tunnel, its command cipher, its grip on the population, though diminished by suffering, remains unbroken. But now Israeli leaders believe that the window for half measures have finally closed. With Gaza City in the crosshairs and international patience taunt, the logic is brutally simple. Hamas must be eradicated, or Israeli deterrence and possibly its long-term security will not survive. Of course, the toll is immense. The civilian suffering and the outcomes are not without risk. But in the cold calculations of Israel's defense leadership, only this level of military commitment and unambiguous occupation can finally deliver what Gideon's chariot could not: the complete neutralization of Hamas as a visible military and political force. So as the tank rolls and commanders issue final order, a new chapter opens, one that may well seal the fate of Hamas, closing the era of endless war under the shadow of rocket fires and ruins. Whether it brings peace or simply a terrible fragile silence, only history will judge. But with security cabinets not and IDF at the gate, Israel is betting everything on the last push to end the spectre of Hamas, once and for all.